Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back. So today I want to talk to you guys about Revin and a Jedi team in Phase 3 of the Sith Raid. There's been a lot of requests from people wanting to see an in-depth guide for this, wondering if Revin and a Jedi squad is finally going to give us another viable Phase 3 team. And the good news here is yes, definitely a viable team. Probably one of the most viable teams for Phase 3. And testing this out for several hours, I was constantly pulling about 15% of Phase 3 with a Jedi team in there. So it's a great solid team. It's something you can tie in between Phase 2 and 3 if you want. So we can talk all about that. But first, I do want to go ahead and go into the mods and talking about this team overall. And for these runs, I really only use my arena mods. So I'll use the graphics there, talking about how to mod them for arena. It'll basically be the same thing here. I'll also talk about some of the different team compositions of who you want to throw in, who's required, who's optional, and who works best in those 4th and 5th slots. So let's go ahead and get into that. So of course, to start this off, we have to discuss Jedi Knight Revin. He is going to be the lead for your squad. Of course, you will want the Zeta on his lead, and he is pretty much going to be used here to help call in a lot of assists with his direct focus. His leadership gives even more assists, gives the healing. There's a lot of stuff here that Revin brings to the table, and of course, he is going to be required. So he's very much a character that you have to use in this team, and you have to use him in that leadership spot as well. Next up, we have Grandmaster Yoda, another required character here, and he is going to be the mainstay of your damage for this squad because he does so much damage, he moves really fast, and he hits super hard on all of his hits. And of course, with that Revin lead, he's going to gain a lot of bonus crit chance and offense, and really just going to bring a lot of pain to the team. So he's definitely someone you've got to use in here. And for another character that's really required here, Hermit Yoda. He calls in a lot of assists, he gets a lot of healing. He's really a character that you want to use here. He can help equalize health, which is able to help you get around characters who get isolated. He's also able to provide a boost to the turn meter, and his Master's Training buff really helps to increase the damage output of your team overall. And then that 4th required character is going to be Lashawn. She has the buffs with her special, and having Bastila be really fast here is going to help her to really get out those buffs more often, help increase the overall damage output for your team. So she's really a vital character to bring here because of those offensive buffs, and she also deals some pretty significant damage on her own with the basic due to the bonus damage with all the Jedi allies. Now, for that 5th slot, you have 2 options here. First one I recommend is going to be Jolee Bindo, especially if you have that Zeta on him. That Zeta with the reviving ability actually allows you to get around isolate. So if Jolee gets isolated, he can use that special and then revive other characters who are defeated. He also gets to call in a lot of assists, and his basic attack can help reduce his cooldowns. So you get more healing abilities, more assists. He's really a solid character. And the other character you could use in this spot instead of Jolee here will be Ezra Bridger. Ezra gets a lot of damage with his flourish. He can call in assist. He's really solid with the damage, but I actually found that I had more success at rolling Jolee over Ezra in that 5th slot. It was a lot more forgiving for me for when characters were getting isolated, and I found that Jolee, with his constant assist and this healing and everything, was definitely a character I found to be much more reliable here in this team. So I would recommend using a Jolee Bindo even without the Zeta on him first over Ezra in this kind of team setup. So when it comes to isolate and which characters you don't want to have isolated, the 2 I found that were really bad for me were going to be Hermit Yoda and Grandmaster Yoda. Hermit Yoda seems kind of surprising for most people because you have to think that there is no healing from Hermit Yoda on his basic to himself. It only heals the other allies, so that means you only really use his health equalization ability, and that's on a bit of a long cooldown. So you do have that problem, and the foresight from that could also be another problem, which we'll cover here in a moment. But really, Hermit Yoda has no way to protect himself outside of getting the stealth to himself, which then means you have to usually move some of your cooldowns around to help synchronize with that. So he can become a bit of a burden if he gets isolated, and then you have to manipulate things. It's really a pain in the butt, and it's really something that can make things hurtful for your team overall, but the overall damage boost from Master's Training and everything makes it hard to not bring in Hermit Yoda. Now with Grandmaster Yoda, he does deal a lot of damage, and he has some health steal, but in the long run he's still very squishy, and his foresight can be stolen by Traya, which can apply stun to him if he doesn't doesn't have tenacity up, and then he can't dodge things, and then he can easily get picked off, and if someone dies while isolated, they cannot be revived. This is going to be a problem in the long run, so both Yodas getting isolated, usually not good for you. However, everybody else on this team works just fine with getting isolated, especially Jolie Bindo. So he can heal himself for a ton of healing back on his basic. Revin can heal himself with his saber throw. Ezra has enough health steal that his flourish and his constant attacks really helps heal him back, and Bastila is a very tanky character, so she has a lot of health anyways, so she'll be able to do fine with the isolate on herself. She and the other Jedi are not that squishy, so they're able to work through that isolate, unlike Grandmaster Yoda, and Hermit Yoda has no healing for himself. So the isolates, anyone but Yoda, you're going to be perfectly fine. With Yoda, it's not a lost cause, but you do have to manipulate things in a certain way, and you have to be very careful and hope that they don't get picked off, which I found happens quite a couple of times while running this team in Phase 3, where those isolates could pick off those characters, where they would get isolated and then the Sabers and Traya would just focus down that one specific character. Now, when it comes to the overall strategy for your team in Phase 3, really, you just want to topple as much as possible with Traya. You don't have to worry about the stacking damage. You're going to heal back all that protection, all this healing from assists and the Revin lead. You're going to be just fine with all the stacking damage from Traya. Really, you want to use AoE moves as much as possible to help quickly knock down the Sabers. So the AoE attack from Grandmaster Yoda, the Saber Throw from Revin, both of those attacks are going to deal some pretty significant damage to the Sabers. You should be able to knock out the Sabers in a very quick manner. You don't want to have a lot of multiple attacks, so watch out for assists. You want to go for strong single target attacks or strong AoE attacks that can be very efficient in toppling Traya. So the AoE from Grandmaster Yoda, the Saber Throw from Revin, Flourish from Ezra also works really great, and the basic attack from Bastila actually hits pretty hard as well. Save your assists like your Master's Train from Hermit Yoda, save the assist with the Revin lead and the strategic advantage for the topples as well. That is when you want to just burn as much damage as you can on Traya. You want to aim for about 2 to 3% per topple with Traya. You're not always going to get that, but that's what you want to aim for. Save the buff with Bastila, put it on Grandmaster Yoda right as Traya goes toppled, and then you can quickly use Battle Meditation to spread out to the other Jedi, and then use the direct focus from Revin, use the Master's Train call to assist with Hermit Yoda, use all those buffs and those assists at one time to really do a huge significant chunk of damage to Revin in just a couple of hits. And keep in mind, all of the assists is going to be dealing bonus damage, and you're going to be healing back a lot of protection on your Jedi because of those mass assists. So there's a lot of mass assists going on here. Use strategic advantage, call in massive amounts of assists. That is pretty much your goal. That's how the Revin team works. I mean, there's not a lot to go into detail here besides just timing the cooldowns with Bastila, Master's Training, direct focus, all that stuff. Time it well so that you're able to do a lot of damage in a very short amount of time. Now, about 4 or 5 topples in is when you'll want to use standalone. I recommend you use it on someone who is going to still have a significant amount of health and can quickly destroy the other Sabers. So Revin or Grandmaster Yoda works great here because they can use AoE attacks, quickly destroy the Sabers, and then go right back into toppling Traya and doing a lot of damage on her. So all that stuff works great. Basically, just be smart about it. If you're noticing you're taking a lot of damage from Bonds of Weakness, probably a good time to go ahead and stand alone. If you need to burn a topple or two to help kind of equalize things back in place, maybe get rid of that isolate on one character who's falling dangerously low on health, go ahead and do that. The trick here is to just get to enrage. That's all you have to do. You basically just have to survive and do as much damage as you can in the meantime. And of course, it would go to mention that a lot of people are starting to consider Revin to be, you know, that super raid character. I'm not going to go as far as to say that he is to the Sith raid what Commander Luke was to both the AAT raid and the Rancor raid, but Revin is definitely a character that has come in, made Jedi easily one of your best, if not the best raid teams for the Sith raid, and you can deal 10 to 15 million damage with a Jedi team very easily. You can do 10 million with them in phase 2, but you can tie in between phases 1 and 3. You can carry over into the other phase, and you could deal 15 million damage easily with a Jedi team in just a couple of minutes. Probably a 10 to 15 minute run, you'll be able to knock out that damage and do a significant chunk of damage to the Sith raid. So it's a very easy team to run for the most part. Phase 2, you can pretty much auto. Phase 3, you just have to watch out for the isolates, and that's pretty much all you have to really worry about. This team with Revin, definitely one of the more reliable teams now for the Sith raid, and this is what we're going to start seeing in the future. You know, these journey characters come out, and just like Commander Luke allowed us to easily destroy the Rancor in the AAT, Jedi Training Rey was more of a PvP character, but you could still deal some significant damage with her in the AAT raid as well. So these journey characters that we're finding come out, and they basically dominate in all areas of the game, and the raid is no exception here for Revin. Your Jedi are now one of the best teams here to use, and it's all due to the Revin lead, and maybe even his unique with the bonus stats given to the allies as well. So Revin is definitely going to be the beginning of the end for the Sith raid in terms of the content that we all have to work on and grind on. Revin has pretty much started to make it really easy for a lot of guilds, so Revin is definitely going to become a focus for a lot of people because of just how easy he can make the Sith raid for your teams. You can easily use him in phase 1, 2, and 3. Phase 4 still a bit of a mystery here, though I have seen people say that he helps destroy Scion in phase 4, so that's nice to have with Night Sisters destroying Nihilus in phase 4. You can use Jedi in phase 4 against Scion as well, and Treya's still a bit of a kitchen sink kind of thing, but definitely with Revin here, you are definitely getting one of the better teams here, and he has really made the Sith raid a lot easier for anybody who has him unlocked. So that is pretty much going to be it for this video, guys. Let me know down below what you guys think about Revin and what he's done for the Sith raid so far. If you guys have any questions or comments, you can drop them down below as well. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Feel free to like, share, and subscribe, and I will talk to you guys later.